Alright, let's talk about these switch panels that are available for the 2014 and 2018 Chevy Silverado. If you want to buy one of these, there's going to be a link in the description so you can check that out. These fit in the cubby that is part of the trim plate that surrounds your 4x4 and headlight switch. So if you have the factory trailer brake controller here, this is not going to work for your truck. In this video, what I want to do is just go over what you're going to get when you buy one of these, and then we'll go through the whole installation process so you can kind of see what that looks like. In the package, when you open it up, you're going to find one of these 3D printed switch panels with 3 switches in it, and then they're going to have these wires attached to them. These are 6 inches long. You'll see why those are on there when we go through the installation process. You're also going to get some hardware. This is very simple to bolt on. Basically, it's just a 1/4 inch bolt, 1/4 inch washer, 1/4 inch nut. Alright, so that's what you get. Let's start in on how you're actually going to go ahead and install this. And to kick things off, we basically just need to remove this entire piece here, and no tools are required for that. Chevy kind of did us a favor and made it pretty easy. So the first thing you're going to do is just pop this off. Apply gentle but firm pressure. Don't break anything, but it is meant to come out so you can access your fuse panel and stuff, so should be fairly easy to pop out. Similarly here, that's just going to pop out. All that's holding it in is some clips. On the back side, you have 2 connectors, one for your headlight switch, one for your 4x4 switch. And again, these are pretty simple to take apart, so you just kind of press this latch down here on each of them and it's going to pop right out. Now, mine comes out pretty easily because I've done this numerous times, but yours might be a little stiffer in there, might be stuck in there a little bit harder. So again, just kind of go around the edges of it with gentle but firm pressure and it should pop out pretty easily. Alright, let's hop around to the tailgate so we have a little bit of a work surface, and I'm going to show you how to go about actually getting this installed. Okay, so at this point we have the trim piece we just pulled, we have the switch panel, and we have the hardware here. Some additional tools that you're going to need, and some that might just be helpful. 7/16 inch wrench, a screwdriver, not required but can be helpful, make sure it's flathead. 5/16 inch drill bit, a 1/4 inch drill bit, and then I have, I'm going to do the wiring right here too, so some tools for that would be helpful, and then I have my electrical connectors that I'm going to need. So the basic idea here is we are going to drill a hole in the trim piece that we can then run a bolt through the switch panel and then through the back of the trim piece. Inside of the switch panel here is a hex shape that you're going to fit your bolt head into, like so. And that keeps it in place as you tighten it down from the back side of the trim piece. The way I'd recommend going about doing this is actually disassembling this switch panel part. These come apart pretty easily, and the reason for that is that you can use your switch panel as a template for where you're going to drill that hole, and because you're going to have a drill bit in there kind of going all over the place, you don't want to damage any of the wires that are installed in these switches. So just to be safe, kind of as a precaution, let's go ahead and take out all 3 of these switches. Alright, so now we have just the bare switch panel, and you're going to remove the rubber piece that is in the trim plate and then insert your panel into the trim piece. Now this, it only goes in there one way, but basically this part that sticks up on the switch panel is going to go up. Okay. And what you want to do is with your 1/4 inch drill bit, which is the same size as the hole that's in the back of the trim piece, you're just going to guide your drill back and make sure it is through. I need to extend mine out a little bit because it didn't have enough length to reach the back of the trim piece, but make sure that you are getting it through that hole where we were going to run that bolt. Okay. Alright, so there's my hole. Right now it's a 1/4-inch hole, and it's in the correct place because we use the switch plate as a template. Now what I'd recommend doing is swapping out your 1/4-inch drill bit for a 5/16, and that's just going to give you a little bit more room to fit the bolt through when you go to get this thing installed. Okay, so there you go. It gives you a little bit more space, and you'll see why that would be helpful in just a second when we go to get all this installed. So this is just kind of the convention I use. You can really put these in any order you want, but I go alphabetical order by color from left to right as you're looking at the front of the panel. So I'm going to go blue, green, and white. And then one other thing to know about these is these toggle switches have this notch right here. That notch is on the off side of the switch, so that notch is going to go down. Alright, and then on the back side of the panel, there's actually rectangular spaces, one for each switch. It makes it a little easier to get them installed and get them aligned correctly. You don't really have to worry about the alignment because they're going to fit into that rectangular space. Awesome, so now we can go ahead and get this installed in the trim piece. Admittedly, this part can be a little bit tricky, takes some finesse, but what you're going to want to do is kind of group your wires together like this, and if you have some tape handy too, that can be a big help. In fact, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go grab some electrical tape, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to run all 6 of these wires through this square curved hole here. So obviously that's a pretty small space to fit all these through, and I found what can really assist you with that is taking all these wires and just taping them up. You use some sort of tape here that's going to be easy to remove so they don't get all stuck together, but that's going to be a lot easier than having all 6 of these kind of going every which way. Alright, then take your bolt and we're just going to insert it like that. Make sure it is fully seated within that hex shape there. And then hold your trim piece kind of like this. Make sure that you're holding the actual switch panel upright like this so it's you don't have that bolt wanting to come out. We're just going to rely on gravity to keep it in there. And I'm going to fish my wires through that rectangular hole that comes, it's already in the switch panel. And we're going to kind of pull on the wires gently from the back side, and you need to make sure that they stick. I'll pull this out real quick so you can kind of see this too. You need to make sure the wires stay within this area of the switch panel. That is designed to go right up and over that rectangular hole, so it gives the wires space to actually fit through there. Okay, so we're just going to kind of gently pull on the wires. Oops, see, I did not keep that upright. Okay. I should also mention another option that is available to you is you can drill as big of a hole as you want to feed these wires through. It's actually going to make this process a lot easier. It's certainly not required, but if you don't mind modifying your trim piece even more, that can make this process a lot easier. Alright, but now we have all 6 wires through, and we have our bolt sticking out the backside. Now, the reason for this optional screwdriver is it makes it easy to kind of put pressure on this from the side, and then it's not going to go anywhere. And you can go ahead and just lay your washer on top, and then go ahead and at least thread the first few threads of your lock nut onto the bolt. Okay. From there you can go ahead and actually get it tightened down with the wrench. Definitely don't want to over tighten this, just get it nice and snug to the point where the bolt should just barely be sticking through, through that lock nut. Go ahead and take your tape off, and here you are. Now, the nice thing about putting these switches back in alphabetical order by color is that now we know blue, green, white. We know which wires go to which switch. These wires are color coded by switch, so it's a little bit of a different convention than your typical, red is hot, black is ground kind of a thing. But you can't see the back of the panel once this thing is installed, so it makes it easy to identify which wires go to which switch. While we're back here, I am going to go ahead and wire up my panel. Alright, and that's really it. Like I said, I'm not going to use these white wires, so those can just kind of be tucked away safely. Make sure they're not going to be rubbing on anything. Make sure they're not going to be pinched or interfering with anything else. And now we can go ahead and go back up to the front of the truck and let's get this thing installed. As a quick aside, I just wanted to show where I run my wires from the engine bay into the cab of the truck. This is the easiest way I've found to do it. So this cord right here is what I have running to the switch panel. It comes in through right here, so it enters the body right here. I don't know how well you can see it, but it pops out of the body right there and it enters a grommet. There is a rubber grommet there that if you just make a little slit in it, you'll be able to run the wire through. Again, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see under here, probably not at all, but if you kind of fish that wire, that cord down through that grommet, it's going to pop out where you can find it here, and then I have it run right above my emergency brake, and then it comes up into the backside behind the fuse panel, and then it ends up right here where you're going to need to plug it into the switch panel. Okay, so here is the switch panel we just installed in the trim plate. Your wiring might be slightly different in terms, like your custom wiring here might be slightly different than what I'm about to show, but let's go ahead and hook these up, and then I'll show you the reassembly process for this trim plate. So I am going to connect these here. Okay. Alright, so once you have your wires here, and one recommendation that I do have for this is when you run your wires from the engine bay into the cab here, leave plenty of slack. You don't need feet and feet, but it does make it a bit easier if you at least have some slack in here to work with. Okay, now you can go ahead and hook up your headlight switch, your 4x4 switch. Make sure those click into place. Make sure your wires are not being pinched. They're not really being folded or anything like that. They're not interfering with anything. Just make sure it's a safe installation. And then you're just gonna place this so the clips are all aligned and push that into place. Same thing with your fuse panel cover. Line everything up. Oops. It's hard to do sitting in the seat here. Line everything up, give that a couple taps, and that'll fall into place, and you're done. There's your 3 wires, or your 3 switches here. Pretty nice. So pretty fun product, pretty easy to get installed, and solves the problem of where the heck do I put my switch panel. So send me a message with any questions. And other than that, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you later.